it is so important to leverage other people's expertise. Like you said, it's a force multiplier to spend your money to make more money. Like I'm always willing in the short term to bet on me and bet on the people that I see talent in to help me go to a place that I couldn't go to.
Hello and welcome to the Remarkable CEO Podcast, a show dedicated to chiropractors who want to transform their job into a business so that they can have a remarkable practice as part of a remarkable life, not instead of one. With your hosts, Dr. Pete Camiolo and Dr. Stephen Franson.
What's up, Remarkables? Welcome to another episode of the Remarkable CEO Podcast. Man, we got a treat for you today. We're going to have a CEO conversation with one of my favorite chiropractors, somebody who's been a longtime client of the Remarkable Practice, my longtime friend, and really a great business mind inside of the chiropractic industry. He's got multiple businesses in chiropractic, and he has made that enviable ascension from being an owner-operator to being a manager to being a leader as a CEO to actually making that step up to being a governor, like up over the top and really running his business like an investor. You probably guess who I'm talking about because he's been on the show before, but I just want to welcome back to the show, Dr. Nick Silveri. Dr. Nick, say hi.
What's up, Doc?
Hey, you brought somebody with you. Now, we got a new face on the screen. If you're watching this on YouTube, wink, wink, everybody should be watching us on YouTube now. Follow us on YouTube. We got a new face on the screen. I'm going to let him introduce himself, but he's no stranger to the Remarkable Practice or our tribe. Jason Barnes, it's great to have you on the show, brother.
It's great to be here. Thanks.
So we got a big announcement here let's get that out of the way. Let's address the elephant in the room. I know that there's been some rumblings in the chiropractic space. Hey, big news. Jason Barnes has joined Leverage Media. Tell us the story, guys. How did you guys arrive at this?
Well, I have known Jason for probably 7 or 8 years, mainly from the immersions through TRP. We would have booths together and like go to lunch together and just like have a good time at immersions and laugh. And he had reached out to me and said that he was looking to make a move. And I was like, for a long time, like basically the whole time I've known him, I was like, man, if I could just have somebody like Jason alongside of me, this thing would go to the moon. And so I was like, well, if you'd be interested, I'd love to have the conversation. Turns out Jason's, all of my weaknesses are Jason's strengths, and all of my strengths are also his strengths. So it like worked out pretty well. So we are excited to have Jason on as the new CEO of Leverage Media. A lot of people have asked me, like, does that mean that you're not in the business anymore? Absolutely not. It just allows me to do all the things that I'm great at. And, I am a constant pursuer of mastery when it comes to chiropractic marketing. And so that just frees me up to do more of that, to serve our clients better, to create more content, and just to be a better resource for our clients. So in the profession.
I think it's a great move, man. So I'm a big fan of Jason, been working with him for years. Jay, I assume this is a soft landing. You're not exactly changing industries.
Right,
In fact, you're probably seeing a lot of overlap with relationships you already had. And certainly that's true inside of the Remarkable Practice. How has it been for you making this shift from chair to chair?
Well, soft is an understatement. The relationships I've had for years, including the one that I left from, have been nothing but supportive and really welcoming and gracious. And so I'd like to offer my gratitude, and I'm feeling a lot of that these days. And when it comes to working with Nick, I'm grateful for somebody who's able to be so honest with themselves, because I worked with practice owners over the years who didn't have that clarity of thought about what they were good at and what they weren't. And after a few conversations with Nick, understanding how we could fit together and be a force multiplier in this industry, I got really excited again, and I'm as energized as I've ever been.
Awesome. All right. So here's a conversation that I want to have here today, guys. So, the idea of letting somebody replace you in any role is sphincteric, right? So it's like, especially if you are an entrepreneur, you are going to be by nature a control freak, right? So you're going to be a perfectionist, control freak, Clydesdale operator at one point in your career. Those are just that's the DNA of an entrepreneur. And of course, it's a continuum. I was extreme right. So I just recognized that, what got me to one point of success was going to be exactly what kept me from going to the next 9 places I wanted to go in the success continuum, right? So, but even then, I just remember the visceral, into this day, frankly, because we're always making just active ascensions. I know where I want to go next. It's sphincteric, giving up your role, so you're giving up that control. You're giving up the influence. You feel like you're giving up influence on the direction of the business. Let's face it, maybe giving up a piece of your identity, the recognition and the reward that comes from that role, right? So, Nick, I'd like to just kind of crack that conversation open, because this is not the first time you've done this, right? So, you got multiple businesses, one of them being a very busy, very successful 7-figure chiropractic practice, and also a media company, right? So you've done this now. This is your second time you've made this ascension. Let's talk about that. What kind of self-talk did you have to walk yourself through to slay the dragon of trust and bringing in that right person to replace yourself?
I have gotten so lucky in my entire career, every step of the way, to find the right people at the right time. And the only reason why I'm ever able to find these people is because I feel like I create that space in the universe, and like the universe fills it, right? So like I have just been like really struggling with some of the leadership aspects of being a CEO for Leverage Media. And I feel the same way that I did back when I was seeing patients. At that time, I had a real hard time seeing patients and running the business and the marketing side of the practice. And I realized that they were like almost in competition with one another in my brain. And I've talked about my heart attack at 30 because of that stress and that strain. And so I chose the marketing and the business side of it because I was like, there are people that are better suited to like take care of the patients on a day-to-day basis. In this case, it was almost like the reverse. Is I feel like the way that chiropractors do, where they're like, I just want to see more people. I want to be more involved in the mastery of chiropractic marketing and like serving the clients. But the part that was really causing stress was the support that was lacking to the team. And so when Jason told me that he, was thinking about making a move, I'm like, what a perfect bridge between me and the team, and it's already happening. Like he's just like such a natural leader that it's just been so great. So every step of that way, I have just made sure that I just pick the thing that either is going to give me energy doing, or that only I can do. And if it's both, fantastic, which in this case it is. And I think that each person, and the only reason why I have Leverage Media was because I made that first decision to hire an associate and then replace myself with a second associate. Without that, I'd still be, chained to the tables seeing patients. So some people like doing that, others do not. And it's just a matter of like, again, being honest with yourself and choosing the path that's gonna make you the happiest and give you the most energy.
Oh man, there's so much meat on that bone. So I love the fact that you've had 2 different experiences, right? So I want to address 2 limiting beliefs, and then Jay, I want to get your feedback on the second piece of this, right? So the first limiting belief that I hear is that, oh man, I know you've got this remarkable CEO program and you teach people how to make the ascension from owner operator as a clinician who's working in the business to being a CEO who's now leading the business and working on the business, right? So we all know that, e-myth story, right? So, which is beautiful, powerful, and awesome. But what we have to recognize is that there are some people that when they hear that, their fear is they're like, well, I don't want to give up being a chiropractor. I don't want to stop adjusting patients, right? So, and other people are like, oh my gosh, take my money. Like, can I just make the ascension, become the CEO and never have to adjust a person again? It's like, and there's an entire continuum there. And I want to make sure people hear that because it is literally the most common misconception I hear from people. At the end of the day, we all know that there's a big difference between having to adjust patients and getting to adjust patients, right? So, I was the CEO of my practice before I sold my practice, but I never stopped adjusting. Like I never gave up the clinical role. That's my passion. That's what energized me for everything else. I am literally equal parts clinician and entrepreneur. I'm just as much into the clinical side as I am into the business side of it, right? So it's just literally a 50-50 split for me. Never wanted to stop adjusting patients if I owned a chiropractic practice. Whereas we have so many awesome CEOs who are like, yeah, no, I don't adjust at all. Nick, you live what, an hour and a half, 2 hours away from your practice. You're there once a month checking in, right? So it's like you're physically not even there, right? You're the remote CEO, right? And boss of that, right? So and this, so and there's everything in between those extremes. So I just want to, number one, clear that up, right? And you landed where you wanted to land relative to the practice itself. You wanted to be on the business side of it, right? Now you've got this media company, and you find yourself, your choices are the same, right? Do you get into the is it the art, science, philosophy, or business acumen associated with being a marketing company and an agency, a media company? There's an art to it, right? There's a get into the art, science, and the philosophy of marketing, and then there's the business acumen piece of it, which is everything, from the financial side to the team management and all the brain damage that comes with owning your own business, right? So, and you've elected now in this seat to say, hey, actually, I don't have to be the executive. I can give up the role of CEO, replace myself, yet keep my role as visionary and stay in the mix with the clients, et cetera, right? So I want to make sure people hear that the ascension in identity, as you go from owner operator to manager to leader, CEO to governor to investor to exited, right? So all those ascensions, it's really outcomes that you're looking for, right? So it's not, you said earlier, everybody wants to become the CEO. It's like, well, what they really want is the time freedom that comes with that.
Right.
What they want to do is claw back their time so they can dedicate their time doing the things that they want to do to either create greater scalability or durability or eventually transferability in the business, or maybe spend, less time working in the business, more time working above the business, right? So as you've done now, like, so, Nick, I think it's really interesting that in both of these circumstances, you've had two wildly different experiences, and it was based on how you wanted to spend your time.
Yeah.
Right. Ultimately, it comes down to is like, how do I want to spend my time? What's my calling? What are my unique gifts? And what do I feel like I'm best in the world at, or at the very least, at the best in this business at? Right. So, Jay, I'm going back to you on this now, because ultimately, the best teams in the world are diversified, right? So they're diverse teams, right? So I think that as chiropractors, we're raised in this really wonderful, awesome profession that's has a total limiting mindset, right? So in that limited mindset, or that limiting belief, is that we're all cowboys, like we're running this island, right? So, and we are the sole proprietor, right? So we are the owner operator. We are the doctor, the chiropractor that owns the business, and we work in the business. And then we hire a bunch of assistants to like spin around us, supporting us while we do this stuff, right? So that's a really limiting belief, and it leads to a very limiting life, I think, a very limited life experience. I think ultimately it comes down to finding your complements, rounding out your team, and recognizing you don't have to be awesome at everything. You need to build a team that's awesome at everything. What are your thoughts on that, Jay, as I state that?
Actually, just one thought on that. In no way, shape, or form did anybody who ever, got somebody else to come in and run their business select to abdicate that responsibility, right? They're delegating that responsibility. And when you delegate that, it doesn't mean that it's going to be done less than. Hopefully that person then is able to put their entire heart and soul into that one thing that you were only able to give 10%, 20%, 30% to. Whatever it wasn't all of you. So Nick now is able to focus 100% on becoming an expert, right? And taking that expertise and expanding it and coming up with more ideas. He emailed me one this morning, which I'm really excited about. And now I'm able to go dedicate my entire heart and soul. And so the business will be served as a result of that. The clients will be served better as a result of that. So I'm excited about an opportunity where somebody sees an opportunity for their business to grow by putting more pieces into it and delegating that, as opposed to really limiting the fact that that pipe was only so big and you can't put more through it at any given time.
I heard the expression, I think patch and tempo is where I first heard it, which was the strength of the leader becomes the weakness of the organization, right? So, and there's a seasonality to this, right? So I want to make sure that, whoever's listening to this as we banter about this journey, how many years of a journey are we talking about, Nick?
17.
17, right? I've got like a 25-year journey that I'm describing. So I want to make sure everybody settles down for a moment. Like, so what we're describing is a journey, okay? And what we want to do is we want to cast a vision for you. Some of you, you're just beginning that journey, or maybe you're right at the place where you should start thinking about bringing those right people in as you've operationalized your business. It's time to professionalize your business. Some of you are like late to the party and being like, oh man, I should have done this 5 years. It's wherever you are in the continuum, just recognize this, like everyone's on a different place in the journey. Okay. So you just need to know, where are you in your level of readiness of professionalizing your business? All right. So don't do it prematurely. Do it very intentionally, right? There needs to be a plan for this. It's probably a 3-year plan. For most people that are listening, it's like, okay, I know where I want to go, in 3 years from now. That's the ultimate vision that I have for this business I want to build, right? So with an eye on that 3-year plan, where do you need to be next, right? So what's the next 12 months look like for you? What are the big changes? Maybe it's like, you just said operationalize. What does that mean? It means having systems for everything, having things systematized and captured in writing or digital, in a data room, in manuals, right? So that, like Jason just said, you're not abdicating, you're delegating, right? So you can't delegate something that is not written down, right? If you do not have a process, procedure, or captive. So that's the first step, is to operationalize your business, and then professionalize your business, which of course means bringing in professionals so you can delegate those things, get them off your desk and get them onto somebody else's. And when you professionalize versus just, hey, I'm just going to hire some warm bodies, you're actually bringing in people that are better at that role than you would be, right? So it takes a tremendous amount of humility to be able to say, listen, I know what I'm great at. I know what I suck at, right? So immediately get that off my desk, right? Like, let me bring somebody in, let me invest in bringing in somebody else's time, energy, focus, and talent. I'll use my money to buy somebody else's time, energy, focus, and talent to free up my time, energy, focus, and talent to make much more money. Dr. Nick, I know that this is, I'm singing your song. It's marketing is the obvious example of this, right? So it's like, at the end of the day, there's no frigging way I could be, even if I wanted to be, nor do I want to be, a quote unquote marketing expert or a digital marketing expert, right? So that train has left the tracks. It's going 600 miles an hour and no one knows where it's going, right? So if anybody was able to dedicate 40 hours a week right now as a full-time professional focused on marketing, they still couldn't keep up to this thing, in my observation, not my thoughts, my observations across 1,000 chiropractors, right? It's a perfect example of, and I use the term leverage, it just so happens to be the name of your group. So it's the perfect way to say, I'm going to leverage my money. I'm not going to spend all my time, energy, and focus trying to become and maintain my status as a digital marketing expert. For example, I see so many people on that fool's errand. I'm like, no, man, that's the perfect example of leveraging an expert. Professionalize your business, bring in a fractional CMO, bring in a marketing manager who executes the plan, hire other fractional experts, build out your marketing team, use your money to buy their time, energy, focus, and talent. Nick, you're welcome, man. I'm making that statement, but every time we're together, I have this conversation because it's literally the perfect example of a CEO looking for leverage to free up their time, energy, focus, and talent.
I try to build leverage media the way that I would want to have an agency help me if I was in practice as a client, which my office is a client. But if I didn't own leverage media, this would be the exact type of agency that I was looking for. A chiropractor at the helm who is in the trenches, who is using their practice as a test kitchen on all the ideas. So it is not theory, it is like what is working today. And then a team of experts that helps support all of the technical and the design aspects and the effectiveness of the campaigns, while also keeping the uniqueness of the practice when it comes to content marketing, whether it's with the video or the written word. And all of those things together, you get all, like with leverage media, you get all of that for less than a $15 an hour employee. And you could never hire the people that I've hired for $15 an hour. You could never hire me for $15 an hour. But by being a client, you get to leverage my brain of 17 years that is just like obsessed with not just marketing, but chiropractic marketing. Because like lots of stuff that works in the coaching space or the agency space when you're marketing does not work for a local brick and mortar. And that's why a lot of chiropractors get steered down a path, because the agency owners are marketers themselves and they think the things that they like as marketers are going to work on like local people, and it just isn't that way. And a lot of people learn that the hard way. But man, it is so important to leverage other people's expertise. Like you said, it's a force multiplier to spend your money to make more money. Like I'm always willing in the short term to bet on me and bet on the people that I see talent in to help me go to a place that I couldn't go to. Jason has basically scaled another chiropractic company to where we want to go with leverage media. I've never done that before. So like, why would I be the expert at that particular part of it? But the expertise that he's already brought to the team, to meetings, to structure, to customer service, it's just like, I'm blown away every day because I'm just like, yeah, this is what an expert looks like.
It's exactly right. So there's something in business called the law of ones and threes. And ultimately, the business that you have today, the systems you're using today, the team that you have today is not going to be the same team, systems, business that you're going to have tomorrow, right? So the law of ones and threes, if we were to say it from a business perspective in revenues, it's the team that takes you from $0 to $100,000 is not the same team that's going to take you from 100,000 to 300,000. It's not going to be the same team that goes from 300,000 to $1 million, from $1 million to 3 million, 3 million to 10 million, 10 million to 30 million, 30 million to 100 million, 100 million to 300 million, 300 million to $1 billion. It's a different business every iteration. That's called the law of ones and threes. So wherever you are on that continuum, each one of those is a break point, right? And you have to be heads up about it. You've got to recognize it's like, oh man, I'm approximating that 1 million, or I'm going from that 1 million to 3 million. Guess what? It's time to professionalize your business. And that which what you just described, Nick, is I seek out people that are ahead of me. Like I seek out people that have business experience ahead of me. They see the daylight. You know, you want them looking at your $12 million company and be like, oh, that's such a cute little it's like, and meanwhile, you're like, I want to go to 24. And they're like, oh, that's adorable. I remember 24, right? So it's like, you want that person, yet they can't be the person that's been running a $200 million company, right? Because they don't know how to run a $24 million company, right? So they're a company they're used to having a massive budget with huge tech support, having a CTO, right? And having a unlimited marketing budget. That person has a handicap, right? So you've got to find that person who's like, who's on that next iteration out in front of me? Who has run it? If you're at 300, who's the person that's run 1 million? If you're at 1 million, who's the person that's run 3 million? If you're at 3 million, who's the person that's run a 10 million? Okay. So that's called professionalizing your business. Jason, I know that you spent some time out in front of this company. How easy is it for you to turn back down around the road, come on back and help navigate this next iteration for leverage media for Dr. Nick, and advise him from a perspective of, listen, you're the visionary, but I'm the CEO now with this practical executive knowledge. How much do you compliment him, rein him in, guardrails for him, whipping the dogs? What is that experience like for you?
Well, first, I keep complimenting him because his ability to locate and find talent is second to none. When he kept talking about how good the team was, he goes, no, Jason, I got the right team. And I got here and I was like, all right, he does, but just like a fire needs oxygen, they just needed a little bit more air. And at this point, there's a few of them that are just blazing because we were able to open up that airway and throw a bellows in there. And now they are looking to light other people on fire. So in that aspect, we were able to come in and start working almost immediately with the people that were ready to catch fire. And for that, I'll be energized by that forever, because helping build a team of unicorns that can go out and do something special just gets me going. And so starting that all over again isn't a problem, because the goal I made to each one of these people is, if you want to, you can run a department. I'll show you how. I'll show you how to turn your team, your one-man team, into a however big it needs to be. And so in that aspect, Nick has had total trust and frankly doesn't get involved. He's just hands off and I'm going for it. Now, he has specifically asked for accountability. He has sought out an accountability partner for the things that he needs and has been very open to the feedback we've gotten from former clients that can't be that awesome to hear. I gotta be honest with you, it's not delivered with kid gloves, and just became really solutions oriented. And so at this point, he's just somebody who's giving ideas and information and becoming a sounding board for how we're going to do this while he's creating and building his silo of business.
It's intrinsic to the ascension. So wherever you are in your ascensions, right? For your next ascension is you've got to recognize that when you're building a leadership team, are you seriously building a leadership team? Like, what does your organization look like? Does it look like a pyramid? Does it look like a triangle? Well, you're not doing it right. All right. So you've got to recognize that you are building a leadership team. That's the goal. That is the goal, like to be surrounding yourself and just being part of the leadership team so that there's levels of visibility, there's levels of honesty, there's levels of accountability. And that just starts with just great trust, right? So kudos to you guys to be able to get that right. So, you hear us talk about CEO and COO. I admire this, the ability to have this twin engine in the leadership seat of visionary and CEO, just recognizing that you guys go back to back and it's a yin yang complement as a unique part of this leadership team, specifically for the media company. So Nick, you've been working hard here. It's been a couple of years. You and I have been working together for a couple of years on your ascension, right? So building the skill sets of a CEO, how much has it helped? And I'm fishing here for a compliment. So how much has it helped that you had a program to follow, right? That somebody's coaching you through it, and whether it's us doing it or some other program, some other expert, some other mentor, leader who is holding you accountable to making that identity shift and getting uncomfortable and implementing proven systems. Give me a sense of like, how has that helped you? Because this is not a chiropractic business, right? This is a chiropractic marketing / media company.
So yeah, you don't have to fish long for a compliment for me, because I tell everybody that like the CEO program with TRP, in my opinion, is what I wish I would have had when I started out, and is the best business coaching program in chiropractic. So I started with Traction probably almost 10 years ago. And Traction is great, but it's built, it's like really written for like manufacturing companies and like moving oil across the country. And when you guys basically created the COS, where it's the chiropractic operating system, and your brain was the one that kind of translated it, I'm just like, man, this is a lot of what I have been doing for a while, but it's so great to hear it for a chiropractic practice. And just being like you as a mentor have been a big inspiration to me on like how, like also like recognizing my weaknesses as a leader. Because I'm like, again, I'm looking at you and I'm just like, man, if I could just be better at running a company like Franson runs TRP, we'd be so much further along. And so again, it's like, I'm just like very open and honest with myself of like, do I think I'm going to transform into that or not? And if it's not, then it's like, who is the closest piece that I can put into place? And I mean, Jason was just like the absolute right puzzle piece for the absolute right moment. I mean, even if I had all of Jason's talents in someone who was not in the chiropractic space, I still would just be like, well, you don't really know chiropractic. You don't have any
100%.
relationships to bring to the table. So it was like, he is like the one person on earth that like fit into the space that I needed that puzzle piece. And again, it was just about creating that vacuum of being open and available to it. And it's like, the universe finds a way, I guess.
That's awesome, man. God is good. All right, Jason, the human fast forward button. We're excited to see what you guys do together. 1 + 1 = 11 with the right partnerships. So no pressure, boys. Don't screw it up. Thanks so much for joining us. Thanks for sharing your wisdom, your experience. We're going to double back. We're going to check in with you guys down the road, get a progress report. But on behalf of the Remarkable Practices, we wish you guys the best of luck, because your success means that we can all see more new patients, right? You can increase all of our reach which means increasing our impact and our income. Let's face it, new patients are like rain and sunshine for a landscaper. You make us look like geniuses. So I appreciate that. Nobody's cheering for you guys more than I am. So congratulations on this new partnership. God bless you guys. Excited to watch your success.
Thanks, Doc.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Remarkable CEO Podcast. Remember, what the world needs now is chiropractic, and what chiropractic needs now is more successful chiropractors. If you like this podcast, please subscribe, share with a friend, and leave us a review. And if you'd like to connect with us personally, direct message us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Now go and be remarkable.